Hi everyone, it's Mark here. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network, and this is the most fun I get when I'm doing this kind of work, because I get to meet some of our members. And I'm joined today by Alan Harrison, who is one of our founder members, really. I think, Alan, you were quite early on in the process, and it's a chance for me to introduce Alan to you, and we have a bit of fun with the Arts and Culture Hot Top 10, and also we do the this and that game. So do please watch to the end, and wherever this appears you'll find links in the description so that you can get in touch with Alan. And it would be a smart thing to do because we've had some fantastic conversations. So Alan, I can't resist bomb throwing provocateur.
Yes, somebody called me that. It was one of the finest moments of my life. I know that. The reason that somebody might say that is if they're so entrenched with the idea that arts organizations are essential. If they believe that piece of, I'll clean it up, garbage, how's that? That arts organizations themselves are essential, then they've got really a granular problem in trying to make themselves worthwhile. And I should say that I'm in the Seattle area. I'm roughly, 6,000 miles away from you as we speak. In America, there are three things. There are arts, artists, and arts organizations. The arts are essential because the arts are essential. It's like air. It's like anything you put in front of you. The most boring styrofoam cup was designed by somebody and is therefore art. Even Andy Warhol spoke to that. What is commonplace might also be art. Is it soup or is it art? That's the question. So art is essential because it can't not be. There is no world without art. But we move on to artists, and artists are, while they're not essential, they create magic. They take things and ideas and concepts and create something new out of them. I'm always struck by that line in Sunday in the Park with George, Stephen Sondheim's show about Georges Seurat, where George, in his description of art, he says, look, I made a hat where there never was a hat. And something about the simplicity of that idea that you can create something is quite magical and quite enduring as time goes on. But then you get to arts organizations, which neither create art nor are art. Art existed, artists existed before arts organizations existed, and they'll exist after arts organizations all go away. So as a result, they're not essential. A nonprofit arts organization, which is really who I'm talking to in most of my writings. In America, there are 133,000 nonprofit arts organizations dispersed, nationally. And very, very few actually act as charities, which they are. Not only the literal side, section 501c3 of the IRS code, which is what describes what all charities do and are supposed to do in very specific detail. The arts are never mentioned. And actually, I look at that as a gift because it's supposed to force the nonprofit arts world to look at its local community and try and solve and mitigate the problems that community is feeling. And you can't call the absence of art something that is solved by art. That's like saying the absence of M&Ms are solved by the existence of M&Ms. It's not really a way of looking at it. But if you can help people solve homelessness and hunger and all the things that are troubling society, then you're actually a charity. Then you are a nonprofit organization. So as such, when I say these things out loud, artists get offended. Arts leaders, board chairs and such get offended, and they let me know it. Never usually in a public forum. I get a lot of direct messages and emails because I put my email in every column that I write. And I've been writing for about 12, 13 years, these blog posts weekly. only last year I was picked up as a regular blogger for Arts Journal, which is the most, well, I would say it's the most widely accepted aggregator of arts articles around the country and around the world. And so now I have friends in Australia, and I have friends in where you are, and in Great Britain. I have friends all over the place who are saying, yes, I need to use your stuff. So when somebody calls me a bomb-throwing provocateur, I know that what that really means is that somebody who is understanding where we're going with this and what has to happen post-pandemic, or as I call it, the pre-post-pandemic era. What has to happen is that for the arts to be supportable, they have to serve the community, not serve some amorphous thing called the art, not be generally vague about what their impact is by saying, well, we do excellent work. As we both know, excellence is completely subjective and therefore meaningless when it comes to helping a community. Show me the data, show me what you did. Don't tell me what you're going to do, tell me what you did. That's another one of my aphorisms. And so that led to the book I wrote.
Tell me about the book.
Well, the book is called Scene Change: Why Today's Nonprofit Arts Organizations Have to Stop Producing Art and Start Producing Impact. And it will be on the shelves roughly the end of January 2024. Pre-orders are available, obviously, now through all of the various places where you buy books, including, I would hope, your independent bookstore. I'd rather you order from them than anyone. Don't tell Amazon I said that. Because they're right here in Seattle. So
yes,
Jeff's down the block.
Yeah.
But it is a book taken over 30 years of being an arts, not only an arts administrator, but a leader, an executive director, a development director, a marketing director, all the jobs like you could possibly be, I've had all over this country. And I've written it. Every day I remembered that who I was writing it for, which was the 30-year-old version of me when I had just taken control of a department within an arts organization. And I wish I had known some of this stuff then. And that's who I was writing it for. As a result, it's really a powerful dissertation. It's not a dissertation. It's because it's plenty humorous, plenty funny, of all of the issues that go around and all of the false logic that we use when defending arts organizations, nonprofit arts organizations in America.
Yeah, I think I'm not at all surprised that you've done such a good job of describing it and the thinking behind it. So that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to that coming out, because I'll be deep in that. And we'll put links in wherever we can so that people can find that. So that's great. Thank you very much. Alan, so what does a champagne referral look like for you at the moment? If there was somebody else in our network and there'd be a very good chance of a collaboration, what does that person look like so that we can all keep our ears to the ground for you?
Yeah, I think that person is someone who I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements on the topic, even before the book is out. I have one coming up in a few weeks with the Association of California Symphony Orchestras, in which I'll be, I think, in essence, bearding the lion in its den. But I think that's the person I need, the person who can help put me in front of these organizations in boardrooms, at conventions, at who can get me the TED talk that I'm not sure this is yet, but perhaps the TEDx talk that I'm sure that it is, and really get the message across. Because, and not for me, not for my ego, although I'm not going to lie, I have a little bit of one, but it's really more for the salvation of the industry, because I believe we're already seeing theaters closing left and right here, symphonies closing left and right here. I don't know what's going on in England, but I see news articles about the lack of not the lack of subsidy, the elimination of subsidy
Mm.
for a lot of places where the government had been involved with funding. Now they're doing what America has been forced to do for years, which is kind of kowtow to toxicity in order to make a living. You know, that's where the Sackler family comes in and their oxycodone that they created that killed 450,000 Americans, just Americans. But, you know, they were on the board of the Metropolitan Museum. They were on the board of a ton of major arts organizations across America trying to arts wash their name.
Mm.
And happily, I think they're almost all off of all wings and buildings and, you know, but probably not all of them. So I would wonder why anybody would keep it after all this time.
Yeah.
It's a landmine. Why would you do that?
I mean, yeah, there are similar declines in the UK, and we are perhaps more reliant on state subsidy than many US-based organizations.
We're not reliant on it at all. There is no subsidy.
Yeah. So
yes, there's something called the National Endowment for the Arts. They give away to all these 133,000 organizations a whopping $150 million a year, and that's considered a lot of money to some people. Yeah. In a $3 trillion budget, that's not a lot of money.
No, it's. I read recently as well that the new mayor in Berlin has announced an increase of arts funding in Berlin to 900 million euros.
Just Berlin.
That's it. That's just for Berlin, right? That is more than the whole of the Arts Council of England budget for the year.
And again, as you know, the euro is, even if the euro was on par to the dollar, that's 6 times what the entire United States does.
Yeah. But the problem starts when the rug gets pulled. That's, you know, some of our organizations have become too dependent on that, you see, and they can't. It's difficult when you've never had an opportunity to stand on your own. For example, somebody told me this recently. You could hire the Royal Festival Hall on the South Bank in London for the night. You could book a named conductor. You could book a named symphony orchestra and a named soloist and do overture, concerto, symphony. And you could sell every ticket for in the house, and you'd still lose $50,000.
Yes, that sounds about right.
I mean, which is, you know, but organizations in the UK certainly have, because of this kind of safety net of the Arts Council, it's become a little bit complacent in that respect. But then, of course, that with this levelling up policy that the UK government have about moving their funding to different areas of the country, I think it's the English National Ballet, or the English National Opera, I can't remember which.
The opera.
In order to survive, they're going to have to move out of London to Manchester so that they qualify for the funding. Anyway, we digress. We could speak like this for hours.
Well, let me just add to that. So in America, if that were the case, you know, it is the case that you could have a symphony orchestra play in front of 1,000 people, paying full price, all of them paying full price, with the same kind of program that you mentioned, and artists. And yes, you will lose money. Here's how you make money as a nonprofit. You don't do it through the presentation of art. You do it through the presentation of whatever community impact. So let's say the same orchestra chooses not to do that, and instead does 10 different concerts free of charge to the poorest areas of your city. Then you have a situation like the Long Wharf is entering in Connecticut, which I think is a brilliant idea, where they have sold their building and are moving out of it and are now performing for the people of New Haven, Connecticut, which is an Ivy League city. Yale is located there. So you have, like many Ivy League cities, it's a bifurcated town. You have the Yale people, and you have very blue collar, you know, lower middle class people living there, and not a whole lot in between. So this is for them. Well, the first thing the city did was give them $3 million. I mean, it was That's what they want. They want people to help their people.
Yeah. And if you do that, it's like most things in life, if you do what you love and you do it really well and you do it with generosity, and the money often follows. People want to be associated with that.
That's right. And on the other side, there is no shame for being a for-profit arts organization. That same symphony, were it to get sponsors and investors and the like, would then make money.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's fascinating. Anyway, we could carry on this for ages, but you're in Seattle.
I understand there's a book about it. So yes.
Yeah, there's a book about it. Brilliant. So I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to do a quick arts and culture hot top 10. This is a lovely way of people understanding where your passions lie.
All right.
Are you happy to do this?
Sure.
Right. So, Alan, do you have a favorite building?
The Chrysler Building in New York. I think it's the most beautiful of all of those Art Deco buildings.
Fantastic. Love that. You're not the first to cite that in these calls, which is a testament to its popularity. And what about a favorite book other than yours that's coming out shortly?
Yes, Scene Change is my favorite book. But if I have to have a second book, I think there are two that have stuck with me over the years. One from childhood called The Phantom Toll Booth by Norman Juster. It is with illustrations by Jules Pfeiffer, as I remember. The story of Milo, who is bored and then receives this package in the mail. And it is a toll booth through which he goes and suddenly finds himself in a completely different place. And it has a lot of discussions of that. It's on two levels, which I loved. When I read it as an 8-year-old, I read it as, Milo's story. When I read it as an 18-year-old, it was a little different. When I read it as someone who was a father, oh, I get it now. He's writing for both of us here. So I love that. And then the other is Shoeless Joe, which is a book that ultimately turned into the movie Field of Dreams. But the book itself, Shoeless Joe by W.P. Kinsella, is so artfully written and so it brings you to tears, brings you to laughter while you're reading, even if there's no one else in the room. It's a remarkable piece of literature.
Love that. Excellent. I know that people have followed these suggestions when they've watched the video and gone and dug them up. So I will be looking for those. That's great. Now, do you have a favorite dancer or dance group or dance style?
Wow. So favorite dance, well, see, I love all kinds of dance, so that's difficult. I would say if I had to lean in toward one, there's Hubbard Street in Chicago does a terrific modern interpretation of a lot of things, and it looks more fluid. If you go old school, I love the Martha Graham stuff. I'm less attracted to ballet, more because I know about the pain those people are going through, and I can't get away from that. Their mangled feet. All you have to do is date one dancer and see the feet, and then you say, "Oh, I'm never going to." Geez, ballet. Much more into Alvin Ailey. Love Alvin Ailey. I could watch that, hour after hour. And then I have a little tiny guilty pleasure, maybe not, for old style tap dancing. Not, everybody in a row like the Busby Berkeley thing. More like Sandman Sims and those people, the Hines and Dad, Sammy Davis when he was a kid, this sort of on the street kind of thing. Savion Glover has kept it alive. I love him for that.
Kind of like a soft shoe shuffle kind of thing.
But you do it on a sidewalk, not in a theater necessarily.
Quarter tips making those lovely sounds. Yeah, excellent. I love that. Now this one's a little bit cruel. I want you to assume that you've been exiled from the United States for some unknown misdemeanor. Okay. Probably being a bomb-throwing provocateur, I should think.
That'd probably do it, yeah.
Yeah, that would do it. And you can choose where you're going to live based on your perception of that country's culture. Where are you going?
Probably based on a perception, not because I've been to northern Italy and I thought I could live here in a minute, in Tuscany especially. Siena, if I could have a place in Siena, I would just stay there and watch the world go by there. But if it's based on perception, I'll just throw a dart and say New Zealand. Not because of the homogeneity of the people there, because it's not homogeneous. There are still people of different cultures there, but more of the idea that this is a culture, a set of cultures that developed out of the European sphere. Yes, there are a lot of Brits that went to New Zealand, so there is a bit of the European sphere, but the idea is, okay, then they went there and now it's been a while. So things are a little different.
Yeah, love that. Any nation with the population of a smaller than London that can produce world champion rugby players. I mean, hello, heaven's sake. Excellent, love that. So I'll see you in New Zealand shortly.
Okay.
As a participant or a spectator, do you have a favorite sport?
Baseball. It's always been baseball for me.
You must teach me the rules. I don't know the rules of baseball.
I'll teach you that. You teach me cricket, and then we'll both know.
Yeah, cricket is just crazy. Any game that can last 5 days and be a draw. I mean, excellent. And now this is slightly cruel. I'm going to limit you to one musical genre for the rest of your life.
Well, that would have to be jazz then.
Okay.
Because there are a zillion different kinds of jazz.
Yes. Yeah. I'd have had to go classical, because there are some pieces of music I can't live without. But jazz is a great shout. Love that. And do you have a favorite visual artist?
Van Gogh. Van Gogh, he was so troubled. I remember walking up to a Van Gogh in a museum. I don't remember if it was where it was. It wasn't one of his, famous ones. It was just a Van Gogh, just a Van Gogh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was at the Art Institute of Chicago. And I walked because they were having a Van Gogh and Gauguin exhibit where we realized what an asshole Gauguin was, and his prime target was Van Gogh.
Mm.
And you walk up to a Van Gogh and you can the paint still looks wet. It's that thick. And there's that much, and the brushstrokes are really welded in there. And you can tell that there was a lot of passion involved when he was creating these pieces. And that's even more important than the subject of the piece itself. Yeah, it's just the postman. Yeah, it's just a bowl of sunflowers.
Or a Parisian street scene. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brilliant. Love that. And nearly there. Do you have a favorite film?
My favorite film is The Apartment. It's from Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine and Fred MacMurray as the bad guy. I don't know why it's my favorite movie, but whenever it's on, I watch it. It's a tragic tale on top of a comedy. Maybe that's it. Or it's a comedy on top of a tragic tale. But it has always moved me to tears every time. The Apartment.
Nice. I love that. Do you remember who directed it?
I want to say Billy Wilder, but it might have been Frank. No, it was Billy Wilder. I'm almost sure.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm not really good at that kind of thing, but almost sure. About 1960, 59, 60.
Must be. And do you have a favorite play or musical?
Well, my favorite musical is Sweeney Todd, because of the scope and the actual music. The music, I believe, is innovative, new, brilliant, hilarious, frightening. All of that stuff is going on, and it is perfect for the grand guignol aspect of Sweeney Todd. As far as a play is concerned, I ran a Shakespeare company for 3 years.
Mm.
And there are Shakespeare plays that are brilliant. But I'm not going to pick one of them. I'm going to pick a play that moved me the most. And that might be the Steppenwolf Theater Company's production of The Grapes of Wrath, which I believe played at the National Theater in London for a while, but I saw it in the United States. I saw it in New York. And it was one of the most complete bits of theater, especially based on a book that didn't really quite lend itself to theater that I'd ever seen.
Fascinating. And finally, for this one, this has been great. I love it. With the exception of me, who was the last person to make you laugh?
My son, Danny. My son makes me laugh on a regular basis. It is his task in life. He's 24. He's living a strange and wonderful life, and I'm proud as hell of him.
That's brilliant. That's fantastic. Alan, thank you so much for doing the arts and culture hot top 10. We're going to finish off a bit sort of rapid fire this or that game.
Okay, I'll try and be as rapid as I can.
Okay.
I did win the game. I did win Jeopardy twice. I was on Jeopardy.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes, and I won twice. I am a 2-time Jeopardy champion, so perhaps I'll be okay with this quick stuff. I need a buzzer.
I'm going to give you two things. You have to have one of them.
Okay.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Radio or TV?
Radio.
Car or motorcycle?
Car.
Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
Concert hall or sports stadium? Ooh.
Sports stadium.
Okay. Cat or dog?
I've only had cats, but I've always wanted the dog. So dog. Sorry, cat.
Test the water or dive in the deep end?
Dive in the deep end.
Bits or no bits in your orange juice?
Oh, in my orange juice? Yeah. Yes, we call that pulp or no pulp. Pulp.
Pulp. Library or museum?
Museum.
Beethoven or Mozart?
Mozart.
Shower or bath?
Shower.
Be embarrassed or be afraid?
Oh, be embarrassed.
Fiction or non-fiction?
What's the difference? I'm sorry, fiction.
Okay. Cooking or being cooked for?
Being cooked for.
Patterned or plain?
Patterned.
Had to with that shirt on. I love it. Sand or snow?
Sand.
Shopping online or in store?
I prefer in store, but it's getting harder and harder to find anybody.
Reggae or salsa?
Salsa.
Indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Android or iPhone?
Android.
Start immediately or wait until the last minute?
Start immediately.
Science or history?
Love them both. History.
New York or LA?
I was born in LA. I spent 9 years in New York. I say New York.
Circle or square?
Circle.
Early morning or late at night?
Late at night.
Messy desk or tidy desk?
I'd have to say messy.
Smartest person or richest person?
Smartest.
See the future or change the past?
Ooh, well, it depends on how far you can go into the past. Would I kill Hitler as a baby? That would be changing the past. I'd rather do that, yes.
Okay, cool. Planning it or winging it?
Honestly, winging it. As embarrassed as I am to say that, winging it's more fun.
Bedroom door, open or closed?
Open.
Zombies or vampires?
Zombies.
Red or white wine?
Red.
Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Numbers or words?
Words.
Thought so.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Rare or well done?
Neither. I'm a medium person. But if you made me choose, I'd choose rare because well done meat is usually shoe leather.
Yes.
That has been put on the grill.
Yeah. Basketball or baseball?
Baseball.
Mild or spicy?
Ooh, a little spicy.
Opera or chamber music?
Chamber music.
Whiskey or rum?
Rum.
Stripes or spots?
Stripes. Or vertical ones if possible. They're slimming.
Yes. And finally, gold or silver?
Gold.
Wonderful. I love doing these, and that was great. I hope that was fun, Alan.
Oh, was.
Yeah, no, this is great because the feedback we get is just that it's great fun. It just rounds off a nice interview really nicely. So thank you so much for doing this. And thank you again for being a full member and for attending so many of our events. I don't know if we'll see you on Thursday, but that's the next one.
I believe you will see me on Thursday. I've got it on my calendar. And for anybody who is a member or even just started with ACN, I just want to look at you for a moment and say, stay with this group. It evolves into something that can actually change the direction for the positive of your career and your life and your ambitions. And if you want to talk about it at all, I'm readily available. Mark will make my contact information available. I want to help you. I'm at that point in my career when I want to help you do the best work you can.
Thank you so much for that. That's great. I'll make sure that the contact details are all in the right place.
Great.
Alan's very kind. Thank you so much. And
my pleasure.
See you soon. And we'll get this published as quickly as we can.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mark.